Just kidding. Okay.
All right.
I'm so tired. Hi, welcome to the Music Lens Podcast with me, Alex. Hi, welcome to the Music Lens Podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie Fee.
I wanted to say my real name for a second.
Oh, okay. Instead of your stage name.
Yeah. Hopefully I said it on our TikToks correctly.
I feel like we would have caught it if you didn't.
Hopefully.
It's fine.
So today, Katie and I have, we're going to do a little bit of a check-in. We said we wanted to focus this podcast a little bit around mental health in the industry and just kind of going through it. And I feel like we've touched on some topics. We've got some more ahead of us. And I think it's time for a little check-in. We've been doing this for 2 months now.
Yeah.
A lot has happened in our personal lives. And again, coffee talk is, hey, I am so stressed and so, oh my god, what is going on in my head all the time, and there's 50 gazillion things, and I just need to process through things, so let's talk together. Well, we've had a full day of content prep in preparation for another content day, so we have been going nonstop today, so we're going to keep the energy up, but I am tired.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of caffeine, so we're going to hope that pulls right on through. We may or may not have a guest appear every so often. Hopefully not, because that microphone is just going to...
It's going to hit... Yeah, the door will hit it.
I am babysitting Ant at the moment.
Babysitting the baby.
Yeah, so the door has to stay cracked open for him in case he needs to go potty. So.
Yeah, that's fair. So,
but
yeah,
yes.
but do we want to kind of... current event type catch up type stuff first before any more deeper mental health type
yes, but I was gonna
stuff?
say let's start with the reason that we were prepping today for our content day.
Okay.
Is because we have a content day coming up.
Yay!
Part of the whole independent artist podcast thing was giving you guys creative tips and advice, and we wanted to bring that to you up close and personal. And we have found that batching content at times, or having like one set day every couple of months where you sit down and create something that's a little bit different, or just working towards your next project and having a date in the books, makes for a very easy transition for whatever stage of the project is next. And sometimes you just need that date to start getting things done. And we wanted to help along with some fellow artists that we've talked to that have maybe wanted something like this. And so we decided, why not bring it to you guys? So we have $50 sessions. Currently, you can sign up by Katie.
Our socials, if you look on the Facebook posts of them, they have the link. Otherwise, Instagram, it's in our bio, the link straight to the form that you fill out. Just a little information about yourself, about your project that you are trying to have content for. We're also having strategy sessions kind of with the photography as well. So tell us about your project. If you have any specific questions you're wondering about with the project or just with your career in general, then put them in there so we can kind of be prepared ahead of time and have more thoughtful answers during the sessions to make use of your time and value your time and not waste it with us being like,
as well, while we're all trying to get things figured out. So I just ate my hair. But they're $50 sessions.
It's on April 27th. Minutes. Did you say that?
April 27th.
That's important.
Saturday. When you hear this podcast, it'll be about 2 weeks.
Yeah. 12 days. Yeah.
2 weeks.
So 2-ish weeks.
And we're very excited about it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, where do we want to go with this? And we wanted to get involved with independent artists in the scene. So I see so many posts on Facebook in some of the groups that are like looking for a photographer for next project, and I feel like there's so many of them that why not have a day where it's open to people that are looking to do that, and then they can be like, join right on in and get an extra piece of content, because normally when you're doing that, you're just like, oh, got my photos, okay. But you get to talk to us, you get to talk to fellow peers, you get to talk to maybe somebody who has more experience than you. Well, probably because I work in this, but...
Okay. We'll see.
Yeah.
Depending on who you are, you might have more experience than us, honestly, but it's still another opinion on whatever you're working on. Which
we want to get some fresh eyes.
It's good
on
to have fresh
project,
eyes
for sure.
Things.
even when I was an intern doing marketing research for they still had me come in because they were like, you were going to have different ideas and we want different ideas. And you never know what idea is going to trigger something else. Going back to, why co-writing is a thing is because it doesn't even need to be a matter of that person has fantastic ideas. It might just be a way that somebody bounces ideas off of you that then gets your creative juices flowing even more. And then you're able to be like, oh, I see what you mean by that, but this would work really well too. And you can pull apart different things. Again, we're not experts at this, hence the learning along with us podcast style we've got going on here. But we wanted to share some insights that we do have with the podcast, with everything else going on, and do it on cheap, because I think one thing that, while it is important to respect your photographers and other people in this industry that do stuff like this already, because there are people that'll do like big convention workshop type things, but you're paying like $12,000 for it, and then like, yeah, you get some cool things, and yeah, it's with like really high up people, but also this is giving you that one-on-one time that is so valuable for me and Katie especially, and where we really see ourselves going with things like this is having that one-on-one time with an artist, because have we talked about how record companies have really gotten away with the artist development type deals? And so it's so easy to get caught up in a scam in Nashville when, like, in people getting taken advantage of, and we just don't want that to be your experience. We want to be able to have a creative environment and do something fun that maybe you had a vision and you spent so much money. I know in my projects too, I've spent so much time with a vision and spent so much money, and then it just doesn't feel like it's going in the right direction, and then you threw all this money into it. So it's like, even if you think you test out some ideas, come have a photo shoot with us to test out some ideas and see if this really is where you want to go, because again, we're not charging you an arm and a leg for this either. Like, we're gonna help you get to the desired destination that you want to go to, and maybe you come to realize at the end of it that, like, wow, I didn't step in here for what I thought I was going to today, but I got so much more out of it than I thought I was going to, and that's what we want you to walk away with. Or you got exactly what you wanted, and perfect, that's awesome too. So, but yeah, also, while we ramble on, you can win a chance to get a free photo session after you fill out the form by following the Music Lens podcast, Katie Fee Music, and Alex Licker Music on Instagram and Facebook. And or Facebook. And then letting us know when you fill out that form so that we have your time preference, but that'll be kind of a random draw of people that we get signed up for this. Yeah. And if you can't make it to this one, we're going to have some in the future. If this one fills up by the time that we post this, we'll have some in the future as well. This is definitely like a first time.
Right. This is our first time, but first of many.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. I'm very excited to get one-on-one with artists, and really dive deeper into, because you can, just talking to other people about their experiences in this industry is always a learning opportunity, because everyone has a different story. I think that's my biggest thing, is I just assume everyone has my same story, and you can say you have a different story so many times, but even just like little things on this level of like, okay, well, I did this, and what's working and what's not working, and how do you see this industry changing, because maybe I haven't seen it changing that way, and so we'll all just bounce ideas off of each other. And I rambled probably way too long on that topic, but we wanted to get that up and go in on the first little here. So if you guys want to do that, please sign up, because we will see you. Anyways. Okay. Tired already.
Let's get that.
Alex is tired, but she's gonna ramble.
Tired rambles.
But, so this is a current events catch up with us.
Things,
Let's just chitty-chatty it up. Nothing
we
to do
got
with what we're talking about.
The episode that we put out this last Monday was like the lost episode, because we got the technology figured out and were able to post it. We didn't get the
kind of a weird episode.
We couldn't get the video working on the end of being able to like put it with the audio to put up on YouTube, but I was able to get just the video without the microphone audio for TikTok purposes. So there's that.
Yeah.
But it was funny listening back to it because there were some things that were dated in the beginning of it that I was like, it was like CMT Award nominations came out, like go vote, and it came out the day after the CMT Awards happened.
I didn't even notice that.
And I was like, "Ooh, that's over."
These.
But yeah, because that was last Sunday, and then Chiefs. In that episode, I was talking about how they announced the grand opening of Eric Church's bar, and that was also last weekend. Was the grand opening weekend?
Yeah. It was funny because Katie was texting me, and she was like, "Hey, old Katie, future Katie says you did not get things the way you wanted them." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I'm like listening to the episode. I'm like talking about how I hope I get a pre-sale code so I could get tickets to his residency. I'm like, hey, sorry, you did not get a pre-sale code, let alone tickets. So, and it sold out. They didn't even, it was like Taylor didn't even go to like a general admission sale. Just like fan club sold it out. So.
But you did go to the opening weekend.
I did. I just, not his show, but I went to the bar with Sammy K, and it was a fun time.
It looks cool. I
very
love
cool.
The half print posters.
It's very different from all the other bars. There's only one floor that has like the traditional Broadway cover band kind of vibe going on the main floor. But then on the second floor, there's dueling pianos. So that was really cool.
Fun.
I liked that. That was a whole different vibe,
that
and it was
feels
great.
Like it should be on Broadway. Like, dueling pianos is such a fun, like, it's like mashing up like karaoke that you don't have to sing plus the live music element of Broadway, but in a fun, like, oh my god, you want to listen to it.
And it's very interactive.
Yes, because
and
like,
they have
you get
like
to
little
play whatever songs you want to pick. Like, it's fun.
It was good marketing of like they have like paper printouts on all the tables of you can write your request on the tape or on the paper and then like attach a tip to it or whatever and put it on the piano, so you didn't have to like, you could do it while they're singing another song, you don't have to wait in between songs and stuff. And then it has all of their information if you want to book them for your own event and stuff on there too. Awesome. So like good marketing for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very interactive. They did what's the song, Mary Jane, is that what it's called? I can't think of the artist. It has a harmonica solo thing going on in it.
The Tom Petty song?
Yeah, Tom Petty. Yeah. And he had a harmonica but not a holder for it, and he like asked this lady in the crowd to come up and like go behind him with the harmonica and like just kind of wrap her arms around and hold it up every time it came to the harmonica parts. So that was fun to watch. Yeah, someone requested Morgan Wallen and they were like did not want to do it, but they did it with a really funny accent to make it fun. So
yeah,
his floor was cool. The whole thing's cool. There's a lot of cool nods to different songs and things, but I really liked the dueling pianos part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fun. They have also a display case towards kind of by the gift shop of different, like there's a set list and different things in there. They have all of his lanyards, like credential lanyards from things, and I'm like, this is why you keep those. I have all of mine from working events. Like, this is why you keep these,
right?
Then it's just a huge pile in a display case, but it looks cool. But yeah, Chiefs is cool. So check it out if you're in town. It's a cool place.
Yeah, don't
throw chairs off the roof. Okay. But we won't talk about that anymore, I don't think. But yeah, yeah. Yeah, did you want to talk CMT Awards though? We kind of were listening to performances. I don't think either of us have a way to actually watch the show.
Yeah, I realized we should have done some like live reactions while we were watching things before we were recording here, because we were like going to talk about it. So we were like,
and then we start talking.
Let's start watching it, and then we were like, oh, we should have probably done like some kind of live reaction. I feel like the CMT Awards and the CMA Awards were so brushed under the rug this year. I don't know why particularly, but it just didn't feel like. I think country music right now is in a very weird transitional spot, and they don't really know where to go, so they're like didn't transition new artists in well because they didn't know how to work it with the TikTok and everything like that, and they were still trying to like push the old school but like rival with the new school, so they were like trying so hard, and then they're still like so far behind as far as technology goes with radio and everything like that, that they were like trying to figure it out. So now you have like people that me and Katie have known in this town for forever, but I feel like to the outside world or to like people within,
maybe they're like, oh, who is this? It
feels like they like popped out of nowhere. And even on a spot of like and you don't even have to go traditional steps for things, like I get that, but it just felt so out of like left field that like, oh, I didn't realize they were that big.
Hi, Ant.
Ant's here.
Sorry, you can't see him, but he just popped his head.
That is so funny. And then you had, like, the older generation, but it felt like very random older generation people that, like, just decided to come back because they needed something for people to tune in for. It felt very weird.
I don't know. I think they had some sort of technical issue that really hurt them, because it seemed like a lot of them had like something off key or something, and I don't think it was the performer's fault. I think it was something with the in-ear monitors, maybe like consistently throughout, or it seemed like some technical issue where it was like, okay, if this is happening to multiple performers, it's not like just someone's having an off day. It's and you could there's really something
hear it
happening.
In Sam Hunt particularly, because you could hear that he was singing like fine on his own.
Yeah.
But it didn't match what was playing behind him, so that's what it just sounded like. Something somewhere was tuned off a little bit, or the inner ears were not working properly or something, because it just sounded a little messy.
I did like that because he performed Locked Up, and then it's like it looks like Johnny Cash playing Folsom Prison kind of vibe for that, but I liked that. I did like the effort for that. But there wasn't any standout
performances that I was, besides Jelly Roll, but Jelly Roll's always good, so I was like,
I liked Lainey for Country School Again.
That one was good.
She had a lot of energy and was dancing around and stuff. That was fun.
When you listen
and
to
the
her
outfit.
in the Toby Keith tribute, it sounded off even for her, so I was like...
But better than the others.
Yes.
But I also think there was, like, a harmony that needed to be, like, turned down a little bit. Just, like, balance-wise, it seemed like it was too hot microphone-wise compared to the melody. And that was, like, throwing it off a bit. But, yeah, people were, like... there's a TikTok of this man that's, like, watching it. And because the first... performance of the three for Toby Keith's tribute was Brooks and Dunn singing Should Have Been a Cowboy, and he's like, they need to get someone else up there to sing that because they messed that up.
Like, it was very funny how he said it.
his like accent and stuff, it was like, I mean, they kind of did. I guess that's really the only thing CMT wise of, like, there were good performances, but then there was also, it seemed like, technical issues that kind of hurt some of them.
This just doesn't feel like a good year for award shows in general. I feel like the only standout one was the Oscars. Okay.
I don't really watch that, so I don't know anything about what happened with them this year, but I don't know. Tiger Lily Gold did not win. I did mention that in the last episode that they're nominated, so that's just an update. Ashley Cook won in the breakthrough female category, so it was still a Belmont person, so it was just not the ones we know. People, also, I guess anything else with CMT?
No, just Anna Voss was on there.
Anna
went to school. She graduated right before we came.
She was a senior when we were freshmen.
But
she's amazing.
Doing things.
I'm glad she got to just pop up there with Keith Urban and have a little moment there. That was cool.
You know her a little more personally than I do.
So she, I think, randomly popped up on my Instagram pre-Belmont and didn't know anything, and she happened to wear like a Belmont sweatshirt in one of her videos. I'm like, that's where I want to go to school. So I had reached out and like asked for advice about applying for the songwriting program, which I ended up not getting into and went to music business instead, but it's fine. But she like made an effort to give advice, even like asked a professor some questions for me. It's like, here's what my professor said about it and stuff. And then we've gotten coffee a few times since then. She's super busy now. Would love to catch up again. But she's just super supportive of helping smaller artists and being kind of like a big sister to smaller artists. And she only did it like a couple times, but she also did like a Belmont Girls Hang thing that we both went to, which was cool, of just like inviting, again, like females at Belmont that are younger than her and having a moment for like kind of networking and meeting each other, playing songs and hearing each other play and all that. So it's great that she got to have a little moment. That was a surprise because I knew she was going to the awards, but I didn't know she was going to be performing at them. So that was cool to see her. Yeah, that was cool. And she's on tour with Maddie and Tay now, so
doing good things.
But yeah, if that's
I think it was her post that I said talk about a glow up.
Oh,
with
okay.
Maddie and Tay. I was like, look at you go.
Yeah, because if you listen to Maddie and Tay, Hearts They Didn't Break. Is that the full name for the song? I should know this, but yeah, that she co-wrote that. So
that's the one.
That's the connection of like, let's bring her out on tour because like she co-wrote the song, which I think is part of the title of the tour, or something from that song is the tour title. Okay. So this makes sense. But yeah. But I was gonna say, kind of like, I guess, a transition from CMTs to ACMs. You were saying there's some people who kind of, if you don't know them, it seems like they popped out of nowhere for CMTs. Cassie Ashton is nominated for Best New Artist, or Best, I don't know if they do Best New Artist overall or Best New Female Artist for ACMs, but she is nominated, and she had like a TikTok of like being like, all the people who are like, who's Cassie Ashton?
She's come in and out of, that's what I mean with like the country music scene this year. It's like,
she's been around for a while,
popping up in and out, and she went to Belmont,
and she finally just like this last year.
Anna did, if not a little bit,
maybe before a little bit, but
no,
they probably overlapped a little.
Sarah
at least
said that she saw her at her showcase.
Okay,
and she went either for a preview day or while she was there.
Okay,
and it was like,
she's like not too much farther older. Than when we were there, but because she has Drive You Out of My Mind just like blow up last year, so I think that's why she's finally getting recognition for stuff. But
I used to work with You Downtown, they would play her music video in the stores.
Yeah, they still play her downtown all the time too.
Yeah, so she's definitely a little bit more in the background, but she, when we first came to town, was opening for Sam Hunt.
Maren Morris.
Oh, Maren Morris was when we saw her. So she's definitely been around, but that's why I'm just saying, like, unless you've, it just feels like there's not a good transition right now for like new up and coming artists, and I don't know if that's like lack of like, or not even independent artists, just new artists in general, because I think most of those are signed people, but like it just feels like, is it a lack of artist development deals going down? Because those have been going down for a long time now. It's not like this is a new concept. They were in town when we got here. Or is it just so many things have shifted, and now, like, I think people assumed Maren and Casey were gonna, like, stay in the scene a little longer. Now they're kind of booted, and, like, they didn't really have anyone to fill those shoes. And then, like, I don't know. It just feels very odd right now. And I know I also don't, like, listen to things like country radio and stuff like that anymore, so I also don't, like, but Katie does, and so I feel like I know enough to be, like...
I feel like I somewhat pay attention to country radio, but I don't listen to, like, an FM station or even XM really anymore. It's mainly just streaming nowadays, but... So,
and none of... I guess Tiger Lily and Ashley have, like, blown up on TikTok. So.
Yeah, they're definitely more of, like, I guess the TikTok generation. But it wasn't... I feel like they didn't blow up in the way that, like, Priscilla Block did, where it's, like, suddenly you're signed.
Where's
it's like...
Priscilla?
She's at the award show.
There.
Yeah, she was there.
That would have made sense to... like, it just feels like some people just, like... I don't know. And, like... I feel like there is definitely a lot of buzz around Megan, but, like, she still feels, like, very, like, in between. Not, like, she's
I think
planted
either. She blew up in kind of in a similar way to Lainey, it almost feels like, but not, like, to Lainey's level yet, obviously, but it kind of seems similar to me for some reason. I don't know why. That just makes sense in my head. But
I feel like maybe it's just like the uncertainty because Lainey only has one album out. And
she has
like,
2.
Oh, she does have 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Bell Bottom came out like 2 years ago, so I'm assuming she's working with Country is Cool again. Is leading towards a new project.
Okay.
I would assume.
I was gonna say maybe it just feels like there's not like an. And maybe it's a good thing because maybe it means that country music is starting to redefine themselves a little bit. Because I feel like it was very easy to say like, okay, you had, and I'm gonna use the female example because that's kind of how country has always operated. But you had Carrie and Miranda, who I said this was like the first year I feel like they haven't been completely in the spotlight. It's so weird. And then you had Kelsey and Maren.
Also done like, I think they've both done Vegas residencies, but they haven't really done all that much within the last year, so it makes sense that they're not as active in the award shows.
But this was the first time that was a thing, because even in the years that they hadn't done, they were still winning
just like
everything.
There because it's like we don't have enough people.
Oh, we have Carrie, we have Miranda, we know who they are, period. But then there was Kelsey and Maren, and I felt like they were filling in their shoes. Like
I feel like
so now it's like we just don't have that like definitive like they were to replace this person in this generation, and like it just feels very unorganized. But maybe for the best. Maybe that's a good thing.
I think that's a good thing.
Because I feel like pop music is more
it's not a given,
to those
though.
Kinds of things, because you're like, oh well, that went viral and that's how they got. Because like when Lil Nas X, like he was everywhere, and like, but pop music is so much more like diversified with people knowing who and what and where everything is. So it's just like maybe country is starting to finally get to that stage of like the blow up stars kind of can slide their way in.
Right, because I think it's a thing of
they're gonna stay around, and that's what feels very uncertain to me. Is like I don't want to lose like the good artist because they're so caught up in like who's the next viral star right now.
Yeah, but I think that's just kind of a thing across not so much male, but like female and like duo and group awards. It's like there's the set people that are always nominated. It's a given that they're nominated, and now there's finally like other women coming up where it's like, okay, you don't have to just throw Carrie and Miranda in there even if they didn't do anything within the year, which like this is no disrespect to them. They're obviously amazing artists, but if they aren't doing anything as far as like radio like charts and touring and stuff, then it's like it should be going towards people who are doing those things within the year, because the awards for the year, so it's just like you should be nominating and celebrating the artists that are doing the most in the year, basically.
Because those are still artists that are touring. Those are still artists that are, you know, putting their foot out there. It's still,
and I still think it's like, because I pulled up the ACM nominees, it's still kind of a thing with like duo and group though, where it's kind of like the same people, because there aren't that many duos and groups really. It's a lot of solo artists.
Right. But who are the nominees?
Duo of the year: Brooks and Dunn, Brothers Osborne, Dan and Shay, Maddie and Tay, The War and Treaty. So The War and Treaty is like the only newer one. And also, again, because I feel like this is going to sound disrespectful, but Maddie and Tay, like, they're doing great now, but there was a moment in time where they did kind of hit a rough patch, and they weren't really doing that much, but yet they continued to be nominated. And I feel like it was like
notice that
they have to have a certain number of nominees, so they're just trying to fill the slot.
Yeah, I noticed they didn't do a whole lot, and they still never bounced back to where they were when they first came out with like
the first album with Girl in a Country Song and stuff.
And
yeah,
really
but they're still doing
them,
stuff now.
But yeah.
Because I think there was just a period where they weren't, I don't even know if they were even releasing music at times and still were nominated. And I think it's like, maybe stop saying, oh, you have to have 4 or 5 nominees in a category. Just like even narrow it down to like, okay, well, who deserves to be in this category?
Yeah. Brothers Osborne surprises me just because I feel like they've kind of been on a little bit of hiatus lately. But
they had an album out last fall. They released an album the same day as Dan and Shay.
I knew Dan and Shay released an album. Okay.
Because they were nominated for Country Album at the Grammys, but Dan and Shay wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Same with Group of the Year. Flatline Cavalry is a newer one, but then it's like Lady A, Little Big Town, Old Dominion, and Zac Brown Band, and those names get put in over and over again because there's not really any like up and coming groups either.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like it's either marketing or PR for country music right now in general. Just feels very like unstable and just
Yeah.
in a weird position. I don't know how else to say that. But maybe it's because so many of like California is starting to move to Nashville, so now like the scene's also changing here too, and now a lot of country music I feel like is coming out of, like, they're starting to open up the Texas market to it because
Yeah.
now that Nashville is becoming more of like a songwriting town.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just a very interesting transition right now. Like I feel like even the people that you were like thinking about a couple years ago have disappeared, like your Cody Johnson and, you know,
Cody Johnson's still doing stuff.
Chris, yeah, but it doesn't feel the same. Like
He was on the award show. He was doing stuff.
oh, he was.
He has like new album, and yeah, he's
Oh,
still
okay.
definitely up
It just
there.
doesn't feel the same, I feel like, this year as it has in previous years. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Again, it just feels a little different.
Trying to see if there's any other things as far as I would love the new female category because it's like Cassie. Okay, the names were Cassie Ashton and Ashley Cook, and even though Ashton still has the like my brain wanted to say Cassie and then Ashley without the Ashton. Okay, anyways, Cassie Ashton, Ashley Cook, Hannah Ellis, Kylie Morgan, and Megan Maroney. I feel like Megan Maroney is gonna get it because she's probably the biggest one in that category, but I love all the other four too.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome because I know Hannah's been working hard for a long time, so that's
Yeah.
cool that she's up there. I mean, I love all of them. I think I've been following her the longest out of those,
Really?
so probably I would say so. Kylie Morgan's been doing a lot of cool stuff too, so.
It's just very interesting, and maybe
I don't
we've
pay
just been
attention
in
to the
town
guys,
too long
so.
to have it see where like everyone was like so like on the same par with each other, and it was just a matter of time before they start going up. But like, it just feels very odd time wise. I don't know why, but it just to me it just feels very like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's like a lost transition step of like, oh, okay, that makes sense because they went on tour with X, Y, and Z or something like
Right.
that. I think that's what it is that there feels like there's like a missing transition piece of like, oh, okay, it makes sense.
Or like you haven't had a song get like super high in the charts yet, and then all of a sudden you're everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe too.
Yeah, and maybe that's because of the TikToks and
Yeah.
social media of everything that you never know what's going to take off because it's really in the hands of the consumer at this point and not the people behind things because you're not force fed what you want to watch and listen to. You
Yeah.
get to explore on your own.
New duo or group, Tiger Lily Gold is nominated.
Okay.
And it's only 3 people, so it's them, Restless Road, and Neon Union, and I have no idea who Neon
know
Union
who they
is,
are.
honestly.
Restless.
Restless Road's been around forever. They keep changing.
I was gonna say they've been around forever,
They're
but not
people.
really because they've changed members so often that it's like they've
Yeah.
never had a consistency that makes it feel weird that they're nominated all of a sudden because I saw them once and then they had new people and then they started. It's yeah. Would love to know your story
Yeah.
because I don't understand it. Not
They've
anything
been,
against,
like-
but it's just
I don't know. It looks like they put out music last year and stuff, and maybe they've been doing good, so maybe they'll win. I don't know Neon Union, so I can't say anything about them, but I'm just like, well, if there's only 3 of them, maybe Tiger Lily has some sort of chance of winning.
is that duo? Or-
Yeah, they have new duo or group of the
Oh,
year.
new duo. I was gonna say, what about? Okay, that makes sense then.
Because they split, instead of just like best new artist, it's like split between male, female, and then duo or group. So I'm like, maybe there's a chance. Also, album of the year has Leather by Cody Johnson. So yes, he's around.
But I don't hear his name as often as I did around town. I don't know.
I hear like songs off the new album all the time on Broadway, so he's definitely still doing stuff.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Again, no slights. These are no slights to people. I'm just saying who I have heard around town
Yeah.
is very different. And again, I know I work in a more older country. Well, I kind of get a mix of what I am exposed to around. Jelly Roll does not surprise me, especially with how people talk about him, and he's a fantastic guy behind the scenes. So it
I
doesn't
don't know
surprise
if he
me.
has anything on here. Yeah, The Painter is the song I hear a lot, and that's for new. Hang on, I scrolled up. Jelly Roll is an Entertainer of the Year and Male Artist, so yeah, he's nominated for those, but he doesn't have like a song or an album on here.
And he puts on a great concert.
Also,
so-
Lainey is the only female in the Entertainer of the Year, and there are 7 nominees, and she's the only female.
Who else is nominated?
Kane Brown, Luke Combs, Jelly Roll, Cody Johnson, Chris Stapleton, Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Album of the year is Getting Old, Luke Combs, Higher, Chris Stapleton, Leather, Cody Johnson, One Thing at a Time, Morgan Wallen, and then Rolling Up the Welcome Mat, For Good, Kelsey Ballerini.
Why
So the
isn't
newer
Kelsey
version.
nominated
Why isn't? I just said she is.
for entertainer though?
Oh, that's true. Because she did it was like more smaller. She only had just one arena show under her belt, so maybe it's because it was like theaters and stuff versus like a bigger tour, but still it was like
She's also
good.
someone that at the success that she's only ever done one arena show for
Yeah.
herself is so weird to me. Like, she should be playing arenas.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. In country music, I feel like especially has a lot of award shows throughout the year
Yeah.
compared to a lot of other genres. Besides, like, your pop, but
No,
the pop
I don't
music
really
ones
even
cover
think pop,
everything,
has
is what
like
I
its
mean.
own
Like,
of just the pop genre.
no.
It's like all
it's like
genres.
your MTVs, which cover everything. It's
AMAs,
your
Billboard,
which cover
Grammys,
everything.
all
Your
cover
Grammys
all of
cover
them.
everything. So it's like weird to see that country has so many that it maybe feels like I don't know.
I need to correct myself
That maybe
quick,
they're just
though.
not as big anymore, and like there's just like people aren't watching award shows as much anyways. I don't know.
Need a Favor is nominated for Single of the Year. So Single of the Year does not have any women in it. That was my only initial thought when I was not only initial thought, but like that's something that stood out when I looked at the nominees. Burn It Down, Parker McCollum, Fast Car, Luke Combs, Last Night, Morgan Wallen, Need a Favor, Jelly Roll, and Next Thing You Know, Jordan Davis. So all very good songs, but I was like, there's no
they
single.
also do feel a little old at this point now too.
Well, that's the thing about
we're
award
also,
shows
like,
too, is
looking
like
at-
they're looking at the previous year and honoring that and achievements within the previous year. So maybe that's part of the problem. It's like some of these songs feel old by the time you're celebrating them on an award show.
Yes, I feel like the further out we go in the year, the older those songs feel.
Yeah.
So, or it's just like, you're ready for new stuff from them. Like, love Jordan Davis. Ready to move on from Next Thing You Know a little here. Like ready
Yeah.
for the next stage of what's coming next. Just because I love his music so much.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And I saw him twice
Again,
this
rolling up
past
the
summer,
welcome
so
mat.
maybe that's also part of it. It's like I've just seen him so much. I'm like, okay, ready for a new set.
Yeah, or like rolling up the welcome mat, Kelsey Ballerini, Love all that. Although I feel like because she didn't tour as much with that, maybe.
It became part of her show. I didn't get to go to it, but because of it blowing up, she wasn't originally ever gonna sing those songs live. It was just like, I'm just gonna put this out just to like get it off my chest, but we're gonna be basically still touring Subject to Change songs. And then because of the response it got, it was like, okay, we're actually gonna
I still
include
think
these.
Subject to Change owes so much.
It could have
deserves
been nominated
so
for Album of the
much.
Year
It is a fantastic work of music. I fell back in love with Kelsey Ballerini after listening to Subject to Change. Like, it is so good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it would have gotten all the nominations that Rolling Up the Welcome Mat did if that did not come out. And I think it's because of that it didn't get nominated. And I think we talked about this on here before.
Yes, but might I interject that with the fact that I felt like her career was going in such a way that with the past album, that Rolling Up the Welcome Mat really surged a whole new audience for her.
Yes, it's definitely
That
grown her
Subject to
audience.
Change, while I do think it is so fantastic, I don't know if it would have
But
really
within
helped
country,
her career.
award show wise,
so?
I think would still get like Album of the Year nominees and stuff. Not necessarily win, because I think Lainey is probably in the, not for this award show, but like the past one, I think Lainey was against her and stuff, and I shouldn't compare just those two, but that's the one that comes to mind of like, well, Bell Bottom Country still would have won, because that's the one that won, right? If I remember right. Yeah.
Probably just because
But-
people in the country music like the country sound, and Lainey's never really
Yeah.
more country than Kelsey is. So.
But she did definitely, I would say that Subject to Change is her most country album. So that's why I think it still would have done well within country. But yeah, I think the sound and everything of Rolling Up the Welcome Mat definitely brought her to a wider audience. And there's even people on TikTok who are like, oh, like Kelsey is my Taylor Swift and stuff. So like definitely blowing her up more. Taylor Swift's music is back on TikTok, but the rest of UMG isn't. Oh, so I'm wondering if it's because she owns her music that it's back up versus that's my only thing that I could think of is because she owns her masters now that they're back up.
I would say too it might have just not have been sorry, I had to breathe. Worth it because she is just like everyone has access to it and maybe she realized she's like losing a lot more money than she's gaining,
if
but
they're
also
just doing like unofficial sounds.
Why would that matter? She doesn't need the royalties off of it, or it's just a promotional thing for her new album.
Yeah, because of the timing, it makes it seem like it might be promotional with the album.
But also, didn't she release an album last time when she took her stuff off Spotify?
She took it off for I think it was like around what year we did this on a thing 2014. It was like around 1989 and then like 3 years later it was like in celebration of it hitting so many sales we're gonna put it back up.
So or it means maybe they've gotten some progress somewhere, but I feel like
I don't
Swift
think
putting her music back be the way that they
think they're still negotiating. This is doing zero research just in my brain. This is what I think of like I think they're still figuring out stuff as far as like negotiations with it.
Sure that we're not missing anything.
I don't know. I think they shouldn't put Taylor's music up though, because that's a good leverage of getting what they want.
It says it's because she owns her music.
That would make sense, yeah.
And she's just, doing it because she can.
Because I'd feel like if it was like something where they work out a contract just for her music, it's like then you're losing your leverage of trying to work out this deal because that's the most in-demand artist, I would say, as far as like using sounds and stuff. So you're just less likely to get what you want if you're giving up that bargaining chip, I guess. But yeah, that was just
making sure there wasn't anything.
Okay. I stopped reading and that was just an update because we did a whole episode about UMG versus TikTok. And then the final thing is in our Women's History Month episode, we were like, I don't think they've had a CMT Next Women to Country tour for a while. And then I saw Leslie Fram post that they're doing one this year. So it's starting in August, going through October, it looks like. It's Kimberly Perry, formerly of the band Perry, is headlining. That's how they phrase it.
She also makes sure that you know that.
They literally, they put that on everything. And I think that's just to make people pay attention and be like, oh, I know her and I like her voice, so we're going to listen, versus like trying to have her trying to market her as a completely new artist. Then hopefully she can kind of have a built-in fan base more than building from scratch. But then the support artists are like varying based off of different dates, but it's Abby Cohn, Hunter Girl, Jenna Paulette, Madeline Merlot, and Tanner is it Ado or Adel?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it. But
Jenna was somebody I saw, I think, through Song Suffragettes. So to see her there is like, wow, okay, she's really stepped up too. Like,
yeah. I don't know. None of the names stand out in particular, but they're all obviously upcoming. Yeah, but they're all upcoming females, so it's good to have those with them. Abby Cohn.
I've heard her through TikTok and other sources of that.
Tanner had a song out on Friday, so yesterday as of recording, called Whiskey Blues. So not the same one as Caroline Delone, but
I know Caroline had a song called Whiskey Blues.
Yeah, it's from her album from like a decade ago. It's one of her main ones from her older music though. So yeah, but yeah, those are just kind of some updates of some things. But we're gonna do check-in and updates and then get into mental health, and we're already like, obviously some stuff will get cut, but we're already almost to an hour of talking without the cuts.
We'll just do a little bit of like a, hey, how's life going, Katie? Hey, how's life going, Alex? Kind of a thing. Because I've got some updates for myself. And do you have any updates, Katie?
I don't know. I've been like, I guess mine's more mental health, probably, of an artist thing, of like, I released my album in October, and I just like, I mean, there's people who release stuff very quickly, back to back and stuff. I don't think I personally want to do that, because I want to give this album time, but also want to have time to prepare what's next, both like planning wise, creatively, but also financially, being able to raise money for something like that. But I'm also kind of getting restless, so I'm like, okay, let's start planning a little bit. And so I'm kind of starting to strategize and map out a timeline of like, okay, how many singles do I want? What do I want the next project to be? When do I want these out? And kind of mapping out a calendar, so to speak, of what I'm heading towards.
Yeah. I think everyone was so, I don't know if shocked is the right word, but it was very like insightful to see when somebody like a Taylor Swift says that she plans 2 years in advance.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're sitting in the shoes of any artist, you kind of always are at least a year in advance.
Right.
Because that's how you have to be thinking to financially support the project, to think about what direction you're going in. And so by the time that you're releasing, it's a weird cycle. And something that I don't think a lot of people realize is, yes, that's why I said it, maybe shocked is the right word at some points, of like, people are like, oh, wow,
it's right, 2 years. Yeah.
But it's like, we're always thinking like that, just from an aspect of you constantly have to keep going, and then you don't really get to admire some of your work. I think that's why award shows maybe go back to the point of how long it feels like they've been out. Maybe it's because that's how, like, then they get to like sit back in their spoils a little bit and realize, oh wow, I've done something with this. I think there's a couple different ways to look at how you plan a release cycle, and I was trying to pick my best one that I wanted to work with when I was working with a coach, and he said that there's like the Hi, sir. Do you want to come in? I know you do. Okay. Do you want to come in? Yes. Okay. He would like to be with us, so don't mind the big fluffy man.
Can you like sit down at least, though? Because I don't know if you're blocking the camera if you're gonna stand there.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. He's getting restless because he's by himself, and we're up here,
getting bored.
And his father is at a friend's house. So he wants to play with his duck. So, one method was what he called the Sarah Bareilles method, of like, you have 3 months that you sit and you write, 3 months that you sit and record, 3 months that you plan and release, and then 3 months where you take a break. And that's how she constructs her years. Okay. That sounded so appealing to me, because I was like, at that time I wasn't really writing a whole lot. And I wanted to take these big breaks and write, and then I felt like that wasn't very productive. Now, I think I'm probably a year ahead in my planning of, I purposefully took a lot of time to write this next project, because I knew I wanted it to be very different. And I wanted to really find a path and really work on myself. And it felt like this is the first time I've done that, and it has felt very productive. And you have to recoup yourself financially. That's the hardest part. And why a lot of independent artists, especially, I think, take so long in between, is because if you don't have the financials to back you, it's really hard to get things going. And that's
everything's expensive.
Money does play a big role in the industry. As much as you don't want to believe it, money and looks.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole episode too that we want to do eventually, is like, yes, you have to have talent. Yes, you have to be willing to work really hard and have a drive, because like, it's a lot of effort, but it almost can only go so far, because
I don't think that's a secret
money unfortunately does make or break artists sometimes, of like, because simply of money is what pays for marketing and advertisement and all that to push you out there to get more people to listen and see you and build that audience. So,
and a rule of thumb that I was taught about marketing was it's half of what you put into your recording costs. So you have to build your recording costs, and then you have to build. So going along with the financials of it, so yes, I planned a year and ahead for what music I'm going to release, but then like while that music is going on, you're shelling out money for your marketing campaigns then, because that's when they're all going into effect. And then after that, you're just jumping right back into writing and recording behind the scenes while you're still pushing out the old music, and you're already kind of over it because you're on to your next project and you're so excited about that, but you don't want to give too much away. And again, with these cycles, and I know I'm someone who gets into cycles just anyways because that's how my brain works, and it's not very healthy how my brain goes into these big old cycles, but it's so hard to contain them when you're also working in an industry that is very cyclical and very hard to get out of sometimes. And as much grief as I give the music industry, I genuinely think that I want to be working in it in some capacity, like, period. Like, that's it. So, you know, wherever I end up at the end of the day is like, yes, it's the music industry, and yes, it's who the fuck knows at half the time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would love to say that I would be happy just being in the industry in some form or fashion, but then there's those events that I work where I'm, like, working behind the scenes. I'm like, no, I want to be on stage.
It's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. And it's not that I'm not happy and having a good time working the behind the scenes. It's just like, okay, I really want to be on stage when I'm like seeing that stuff. And even like your for your work, like going to Jordan Davis, and we were like on the stage at Ascend, like in the background, but you're like on the stage and seeing that view. I'm like, I want to do this. So yeah. But I don't know. I think we mentioned earlier of like success and forms of success for different people, and it's just basically, I guess for me, being able to do music full time. It doesn't have to be the award show level. It just like not having to have 4 jobs, just having music be the job and getting to do that
and
for a living.
And we've said that since episode 1.
Yeah.
Like, this is why we're here and why we're doing everything that we're doing is because we want music.
Right. Period. And that could include doing like this business that we're starting of doing the content creation and doing that for other artists as well, but as long as still able to do the artist thing too. And have that kind of all be as one. Sure. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just restless and wanting to start planning stuff, but I also don't have the financials to really start anything yet and stuff. So, and also feel like I should be marketing the album that is out still, because I mean, it's still
6 months.
It's still new to new people.
It's not a long time that it's been out. Exactly.
Yeah, like it might seem old to the people who are seeing the videos over and over again, but if they're reaching new people, like they are reaching the same people still, but then also growing to new audiences, and that could be growing of like, oh, like,
and your TikTok
who cares?
Really been growing a lot lately.
Has it?
I think so.
I feel like I'm stuck in 200 still for views.
Followers, I feel like you have steadily grown. Has a platform
somewhat
again. Okay, maybe the last.
Well, I do. So I do the I do like a metrics spreadsheet because that's one of my jobs I had to do as an intern at the record label I interned for at Belmont. I had to do social media metrics weekly, and so I do it monthly for my own and do like the percentage and stuff. And where my followers are at for this month is less than March 20th, which is, for whatever reason, it's the 20th every month that I do it, just because that's the first day I did it whenever I started it, and it has gone down. So I'm assuming it's from bots, but because that's the other thing is like bots are annoying because they'll follow you, and unless you're like actively deleting them, then eventually they will get their accounts deleted, so then your numbers fluctuate from that a lot too.
Oh, really? I didn't think
I would think so.
Manually do it.
Well,
Okay.
I personally don't, because I'm like, it's whatever. Like, as long as you're not trying to scam me and stuff, whatever, it's fine. But
no offense,
they'll
but
get deleted
I don't
eventually.
Go through everyone's profile.
No,
enough to be like, oh, it's a bot, or like, I'm just like, oh, I got a new follower, cool. And unless like I recognize the name like right off the bat because like I know them, or like they're a musician or something like that I've seen around town, I'm like, okay, I don't know who they are next.
Yeah, just because
unless
you get a lot of notifications.
Because the fan people that are following you will want to interact in some way, or you're like, oh, I've seen them like every single video, but not just like spam it, like genuinely are following along with you, and then you start to recognize that name. So this isn't a diss to like the people that are genuinely following you. That's what I'm trying to say with that. It's like the random accounts, like they don't do anything, so then it's like, oh, they just pop.
There's also a lot of fake things of like
or
if you comment on like comment on say like a Keith Urban video, and then you get like Keith Urban followed you, but it's really like Keith Urban 1234 and stuff like that,
or like the 50 fan accounts that I'm like, you're not gonna like the stuff that I'm posting, even if you are a real person. If you're into that music, you're not into my music, so it's like, I mean, maybe they are, but it just feels like when unless that's your only account, the fan account that you're following from is probably not like the actual attention that you're trying to get. So
yeah, but where did my train of thought go? Yeah, just like trying to still promote this album and trying to grow and have I guess grow streams and everything for that album along with the social media following. So I need to be probably getting more of those type of videos posted too, just to promote those songs. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know what to do sometimes too. It's like, okay, what should I be focusing on in a moment? Which
in post-production, like, you've done everything, you've sent it all out, it's all on streaming, is the missed step in a lot of people's marketing plans, because they put so much into the pre, and
but you got to promote it once it's out.
Once it's out, it's like, oh, you just assume it's out. People are gonna know it's out, and then you're like, oh, but it's new to so many people still, so it's not just out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hard to know what to do sometimes, though, career-wise, of like, what should the next step be, because there are so many steps.
And that's why
I've thought of this
here.
I've thought of this of like, because I did an interview when I had my first EP out and was saying like, music is not like being a doctor or a lawyer where there is a set of steps in order to become a doctor or a lawyer. For a musician, there's different ways. And I think I was talking about how if one way doesn't work, then try a different way, because one will eventually hopefully work out. And so if something doesn't work, that's okay. But now I'm kind of at the point of like, yeah, but I would like some more structure, because I really don't know what path to choose in order to do stuff, because there is so many ways.
The most frustrating cyclical
and
part of this.
Maybe that's also with the aging thing of like, okay, well, you only have so many years, so what is... I know,
I put myself on that time clock all the time, and everyone's like, you don't need to, like, it's still gonna be there when you're 35, like, it's still the same old you, and I'm like, but it doesn't feel like that for some reason. I don't know why, and maybe it's the quarter life crisis in me that's just stirring about, but it just, like... And I know that they say, like, the best music comes when you've lived a lot of life. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the older you get, you should have, like, better songs that will attract more people and stuff. But it's just that, like, initial getting started. It just feels like you need to do it young. Like, you need to make those connections young. And I think, too, it is going to the fact that you reach a point where things are, like, very very, like, you're competing so much with everybody else, because when you're, like, 16 and 15 and you're like, oh, I write songs, everyone wants to hire the cute little teenage girl that's going to be the next Taylor Swift, because everyone wants a piece of that, and they're like, oh my god, she can sing and she can play guitar and she can I'm hiring her. Like, I got so many gigs when I was in high school. So easy, because I was pretty and I played guitar and I wrote my own songs, and I had a lot of energy on stage, and
Yeah.
I was the local little talent. Again, you have to compete with people for that too, because they always like to pick the one golden child, and I was not my hometown's golden child. So I had backing, but not as much backing. Then you get to, okay, you're in college now. Okay, well, that's cool, because now you've got some world experience, and they want to bring you back home to your hometown, and then again, you're still getting their hometown gigs, still doing a pretty good job, but then you hit, like, 20, and then, like, you're in just the race with everybody else.
Yeah.
And then you hit like 21 and 22 and 23, and you're having fun, and you're having all your party stuff, and you're like just living life and having fun with it. And you're trying to figure out who you are as a person. And then you think you got it figured out, but you go through so many like, is this right? Is this right? And you change your mind 500 times.
Yeah.
Till you're at like 24 and 25, and now you finally feel like you figured out kind of who the hell you are, to get to a point where now you feel like you can put out music that you feel like actually represents something in your life. And now you feel like you're too old to be in the, oh wow, I'm just getting exposure game. So now you're playing with your mind again. And you're just like, how do you win? Because I'm sure even Taylor Swift is like, how do I win with where I'm at? Because she was still battling things left and right.
I can't imagine the pressure. I feel like she probably puts on herself of like, I'm at the peak, but I don't want to like, how hard is the fall?
The fact
like,
that she
how do
hasn't
you keep
still,
topping what you're doing?
Exactly. Is like, because I
because there's like a pressure to succeed
with this last couple albums, just like with Midnight's, because like the Lover House and all like the symbolism around this, I was like, okay, like this is her peaking moment, like, and then gonna happen, and then the Eras tour and all that stuff, and then everyone was complaining because she was winning all this stuff and getting so much attention. Just like, but guys, she's just now starting to become, and you can say whatever you want that she's been doing it for the last 10 years, but she's
more than 10.
Yes, but she's just now starting to become like where Beyonce is, or like somebody like she was huge this whole time, but she has like topped herself even more.
Right.
I thought that like Folklore and Evermore were going to be kind of like her peaks, because she grew her fan base a lot during COVID, but she does just keep
like with it. Growing and growing, and but I just feel like
people want to complain about it and stuff, but she's like now just hitting like big milestones that we all thought she was hitting when 1989 came out. But she's now just hitting all of these like big
even higher,
like having Grammy of the Year. Like, she is not like a consistent like, oh, well, there Taylor Swift goes again, because she was not that consistent at winning awards or doing X, Y, and Z, and she wasn't at every award show playing every year. Like, and maybe that's like she has really good marketing and PR that doesn't overexpose her more than she needs to be, because that's where I was, to bring up Kelsey and some personal experience, I was kind of told that her PR was overdoing it to the point where it was going to burn her out. Yeah. And so it was like a fine line of don't do it. So unless it's just really good PR and marketing that has stretched her career out this long, or jealousy from other people because they didn't want to see her win on all these other levels and stuff. But like, even in the country market, she wasn't winning everything then either. I mean, was she?
I feel like she was winning a lot
in country,
in country,
not, like in other things. I don't know, but then like then she transitioned into pop because everyone got mad, and then she wasn't winning things left and right though. Like, I think 1989 had a really good year.
Well, 1989 blew up. It's what blew her up into like past country, because it had so many hit songs on it, and one album of the year and stuff. But so
if you look at even what she's doing now is what we all thought she was doing then. Like, you know, it's just like, if you really take the time to look at it though, like, it's not, and I think Tortured Poets is going to do just as good. Like,
and I think it's also in the timing of divorce albums being a thing. Like, I mean, it's not a divorce for her, it's a breakup, but still a very long relationship breakup. So it's like, because like Kelly Clarkson had hers, like Kelsey, Carly, Casey. Like, there's been a lot of divorce albums, and so this is like her breakup album
Right.
of a very long committed relationship. So I think a lot of people are like hyped up about that too, of just like, because she doesn't speak of it in interviews obviously, but she will through her songwriting. So I think people are like, what happened, and want to dive into the lyrics of songs and stuff.
She doesn't even do that much press or anything anymore. Like,
Yeah.
she really lets her music speak for herself in so many ways, and I know she has the power to do that because of where she's at in her career.
Yeah.
But she's not taking it to the level of, like, she is everywhere still. She is everywhere because everyone around you is making her everywhere for you. It's not her. But she's probably also smart, and her marketing and PR is probably also very smart about it. But, like, it's interesting to see that, like, I don't even think she's peaked. And people think, like, you know, it's just, like, how does she keep going?
All that to say, I think the point was just that I can't imagine being someone like her and being like, okay, how do I top this? How do I keep
I guess we've tangented
above,
really fast.
like, how do I not just, like, completely fall out of popularity, and, like, I need to keep having high caliber music coming out and high caliber everything I do because people expect it. And so it's going to be, like, I don't know, I guess, like, disappointing if she isn't. Not, I feel like her fans wouldn't, but in her head that might be a thing.
Yeah.
Or, like, just,
I think, as somebody who is an honest,
just, like, putting a lot of pressure on herself kind of thing.
And I don't love every album, but it's also, like, there is enough in every album that I still, like, want to buy and listen to said album.
Yeah.
And there is still enough differences, and I feel like each album she genuinely does take her time on, whereas, like, a lot of artists get to where she's at in her career, and I feel like it's just like mass producing songs to get out songs. And they
Bro
sound
country.
Like, it sounds like the last one. Luke Bryan is one that I always.
I don't think he has as big of an issue. It's more so Jason Aldean.
Aldean, but, like, he's in that category of it. I felt like it's just so much content that it's just being force fed down your throat, and it's the same stuff you heard last album that it's not really.
Yeah.
And I think that's also, like, she is a true artist, like, to her core, and I think that's also why it's one of those things where you may not like it, but at least you respect it, like a Michael Jackson, where it's like, yeah, you have a huge career of work, yeah, you have a long life of work, and yeah, you're everywhere, and I might get tired of it, but, like, it's all different, and there's all something in there for everybody, and it's all not just pushed and pushed and pushed and force-fed in your face. It may feel like that to some people, but I guarantee you, if you looked at what was actually force-fed to you, it was not because...
It's not her posting all the time. She posts, like, Taylor Nation posts, but, like, she doesn't post as much. But it's like fans posting.
It's not even like Taylor Nation is, like, posting about her relationship and stuff like that. It's like, it's all centered around her music.
Yeah.
They don't even, like, repost, like, stuff that, like, Jack Antonoff has, like, said to, like, get people, like, but, like, it's all very, and maybe that has to do with a lot of, like, what are they called? Like, don't tell agreements.
NDAs.
Yeah, like, NDA stuff that she has in place. But also, again,
I still love that when we first went to Belmont, your TT leader, Towering Traditions leader, was, like, saying how he had a friend who was like, I don't know if he asked her about a Taylor thing or what, because her dad worked with Taylor's team, and she's like, if you would have asked me yesterday, I could have told you, but I signed an NDA, so now I can't say anything. And it was, like, having to do with reputation, because it was right before all our socials went black, and then we had the snake and all that starting up. So yeah, NDAs. Yeah, that was a long tangent off to Taylor. How are you? I guess let's get into you, because we are going kind of long.
To be like, just cry my soul to you guys and really get deep into, like, the harshness of this industry, and I definitely go through that, but every time I come to sit down and record this podcast, we end up being super happy, because this podcast is happy.
I feel like it's the way of when you have so many things, maybe like a mental checklist in your head of, like, aches and pains or things you want to bring up at the doctor's office, and then they walk in, any concerns? No, I'm good. I feel good.
Well, I could have described it better yesterday because I was feeling it, but I don't know.
Yeah, like, I need to start making a list
all the time, and then I start like going into something. And I'm like, oh yeah, but that led to that, and then I was like, and then I'm crying again. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I was. Like,
yeah. I feel like I need to make a list throughout the year for my annual appointment and be like, review it beforehand. And be like, okay, are these actually things I need to bring up? And then actually talk about the ones that are important instead of being like, no, I'm good.
But I'll start with the fact that I did finish off my musical.
Yay.
We are back on
done.
regular schedule, which means I can dive back into songwriting, which was so exciting because I had my first co-write with you guys the other day. We wrote a really fun song.
We went hard on those rhymes. I was like, we're just rhyming all over the place.
It's a little different. It's fun. It's so good. And then I wrote another song the next day, and I started another song the next day too. And I was like, oh, okay. Like the writing bug just like hit me. And they're all songs that I want to put towards this project because again, I'm writing something that I think is really important and really fun and really different and new. And I'm so excited to do it. And of course, everyone says that about their newest project,
right?
But I think it'll be a good change of pace. And like really, the direction that I've been trying to push myself into, and finally feel like I'm navigating that, and like really like parting the sea of creativity. But I finished my musical. I think I said at the beginning of this podcast when I started the musical and that this was my bucket year, and one of the biggest things I felt like I was missing in my life was musical theater because I grew up doing it so much that I really missed singing, acting, and dancing all on stage because I want to do all three in some capacity for the rest of my career. And, I've done like some background work with music videos and really just music videos. And I still sing on stage all the time, obviously. And I've never done a whole lot with acting since that, besides the background work. So, I looked up a theater, found it, got myself into it, did the show. It definitely brought back some high school memories. Like, some of the reasons why I quit theater was theater is a world all in its own, and I was just afraid that I wasn't going to know every musical like I used to, kind of a thing, like these were going to be like theater geeks in a good way. I mean, in a very loving way. But there was like some clickiness to it, and I was kind of turned off by that. And then it felt like, especially as somebody who has gone through a lot of work and delving deep into all of these, like, again, going back to the cyclicalness of the music industry, of needing... My biggest cycle problem is needing people to like me, because it's in the industry that in order to be successful, you do need people to like you. But you also can't care that people like you, because then it hurts your feelings when they say negative things. And so I was getting a lot of positive feedback verbally, but then I wasn't getting put into certain things. Like, it didn't make sense then. So it was that whole cycle coming back to me of, like, I don't feel like I belong again. And that was my biggest thing with theater, is I never felt like that was exactly where I belonged. It did, at the end of the day, I was happy I did it. I'm going to do another show, because I genuinely was like, okay, this is what I need in my life to make me just, like, feel well-rounded happy. Well-rounded happy. And the next show I'm doing is a show that I just genuinely love. And I did start to get my, like, competitive edge back a little bit. I was kind of like, well, I could have done that better. Or, like, you know, which is toxic. I know, I need to stop that. But, yeah, that was kind of where I was like, maybe we should bring this up on the podcast with mental health and stuff. And one of the main reasons I want to bring up mental health on the podcast, and one of the main reasons I brought mental health into my music, was the fact that needing of approval, but also not needing approval, of, like, how do you balance that? Because everyone feels that in life, but I feel like it is 10 times more needed in the recording industry and the acting industry in particular. Yeah. Because musical theater, yes, you kind of need people to like you, but you're putting on a character so much that, like, talent does really outweigh, and hard work outweighs a lot. and of course networking, as any industry is, because any industry, networking plays
is
such
a big thing.
But in the entertainment space of like independent musicians or just musicians in general, artists in particular, you need people to like and validate what you're giving. And I know some people will say that you don't, but again, talent only does show half of the time. There are certain people that I think, back to when Cardi B first came out, you didn't have it was like one of those things. Or like when Post Malone first came out, I think a lot of people, including myself for Post Malone, I thought he was so funny. And then I got into his music because I liked the person that was behind that. So, like, and I think Cardi B was the same way. People saw that she was funny, and they were laughing, and they were enjoying her videos, and then they got into her music that way. So, you know, sometimes you do really need to show, and I know that there's a difference in talking with, like, a whole bunch of stuff that we'll get into later of, like, why I set up a stage name. It's because, like, sometimes, for me in particular, I have to separate who I am as a person with who I am as a person on a stage, kind of a thing.
Right.
Like, I had to separate that in my mind because I was coming from a musical theater background where it was so easy for me to be put into the stage and be playing a part.
Be a character.
But when I was completely open to everything everything was taken so personally in my life. And so, anyways, I say all this to say that it was kind of brought up back with this musical because, again, I was kind of feeling some of the same ways, and I felt like I was sliding backwards a lot, and I was putting in hours. Like, I was there all the time, even when I wasn't called, because I was, like, trying to show them, and that did pay off, and back to hard work pays off. Like, that was why I was put in more numbers, because they saw that I showed up, and I would never regret doing that because I genuinely didn't have any intention other than, like, maybe they'll need me for something and I'll just be there just to at least fill in for a person that wasn't there that day.
Right.
So, and then I got put in more, but it was just, like, so weird to be like, okay, you say you like me, but then you don't, and how do I take this and not just take it so personally and take it as, like, where is the validation coming from, and, like, why do I need this so much? And it just kind of brought up a lot of those old memories. But that was kind of my mental health update,
I feel like
probably wanting to talk about this stuff for a while with you guys and how to go about it. Okay, so that was our mental health check-in a little bit. Check in with yourselves. Let us know if you have any comments, questions, concerns about the music industry.
Yeah, you can share your experiences with us. We have an email you can submit those to at themusiclenspodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us at the Music Lens Podcast on all the things now because we finally got our Instagram updated to where they're all the same instead of having to do the underscore thing. So makes it more simple. So we love that. You can follow Alex at Alex Allegra Music. You can follow me at KDF Music. You can sign up for our content day if you want some content.
Yeah, we want to see you guys. We want to do content with you. Have fun.
You can... Sorry. I'm like, I want to say the date.
Oh, sorry.
On April 27th, if you're in Nashville. Join us for the content day. Fill out our form in our Instagram bio. The link is there. If you want to come hang with us and get some content. So, I don't know. I think that was about it.
Bye.